Chapter 51-48. When the others saw this, they immediately stood up and saluted. "We will follow young Master Du's orders." "Good." Du Fan revealed a satisfied expression and gestured. "Everyone, please take a seat. It just so happens that I have something to tell all of you." Thus, in the main hall, more than 10 sovereigns listened attentively to Du Fan's instructions. After they understood the situation, they did not stay for long and left first. After they left, the 2 sovereigns beside Du Fan looked at each other and asked, "Young Master, do the 4 sovereigns want to?" He gestured with his hands, but when he saw Du Fan's indifferent gaze, his heart trembled and he could not help but lower his head and take a step back. "Do your job well. As for the others, I have my own plans," Du Fan said indifferently. "Yes," the 2 sovereigns replied and did not dare to speak again. In the 3 months after Du Fan, Leng Hua, Hui Lang, and Ying Yi took over the 3 territories, everything returned to normal and stabilized. The speed was so fast that it shocked all the powerful cultivators. In particular, in the territory under Du Fan's jurisdiction, there was a huge incident that shocked all the sovereigns. Have you heard? A man called Du Fan, who is under the command of the Phoenix Master, killed 4 sovereigns a few days ago. In a restaurant, a few sovereigns gathered together and discussed in low voices. This news spread very quickly and everyone heard about it. It is said that this man called Du Fan is a trusted subordinate of the Phoenix Master. After the Phoenix Master killed the 3 sovereigns, she sent a few people to take over the matter. In a large territory, they only took 3 months to stabilize it. Their methods and abilities are extraordinary. Another person lowered his voice and looked around. He lowered his voice again and said, "I also know that the 4 sovereigns Du Fan killed were sent to him by the Phoenix Master. However, the 4 of them were arrogant because they were sovereigns and did not take Du Fan's orders seriously. At first, Du Fan did not do anything to them. However, once the territory was stabilized, he killed the 4 of them to establish his authority." When the person beside heard this, he could not help but be surprised. He said, "The Phoenix Master sent the 4 sovereigns for him to use. Why did he dare to kill them?" "That's because the Phoenix Master gave the order that Du Fan was in charge of everything in the territory. He did not even need to report the 4 sovereigns to the Phoenix Master." Another person said, "I heard that the people who took over the 3 great emperors are all top-notch people by the Phoenix Master's side. I just don't know where they came from. I've never heard of such people before." At the same time, Hui Lang, Ying Yi, and the 8 sovereigns on the Enchanted Island where Leng Hua was staying were also frightened after hearing the news. They did not expect the 4 sovereigns to die like this. Moreover, they were killed by Du Fan alone. At this moment, they could not help but feel lucky that they were not as foolish as the 4 sovereigns. Compared to the discussions everywhere, the main character of this incident, Du Fan, had already returned to the Enchanted Island in Fengjiu to report the events of the past 3 months. "Master, this is what happened." Du Fan roughly described the events of the past 3 months, including how he killed the 4 sovereigns. Chapter 51-49. She put down a chess piece unhurriedly, then looked at Du Fan and said, "The 12 sovereigns that I called over this time were not absolutely loyal to me. I assign them to you so that you can torture them. If they are sensible and help you do this well, they will be rewarded. If they don't obey, you can just kill them." Seeing Du Fan put down a chess piece, she also picked up a chess piece. After looking at the board, she put it down and said, "I have always trusted your ability to handle matters. I will not interfere with your decisions. Moreover, you have handled this matter very well." As she said this, she paused and looked up at him. She smiled and said, "That's enough. Go and rest. Speaking of which, you haven't had a good look at this immortal island since you came here. Go and walk around. As for Leng Hua and the others, I heard from the news that they sent back that they will probably be a day or 2 late." "Yes," Du Fan replied. After bowing to her, he nodded at Imochen and turned to leave. Imo-chan watched him leave and smiled warmly. I didn't expect you to have a way to break the heavenly Tao's boundary and bring them up here. It wasn't easy. Fengjiu smiled and said, I studied it for a few years before I could do it. Imo-chan smiled and took a sip of tea. He put down the teacup and looked at Fengjiu, saying, You can do what others can't. That's you, Fengjiu. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, There are also things that I can't do. Look, Feng Yi and the others, I'll have to trouble you. With your current reputation and status, you can send them to any sect you want. However, since you don't want others to know about your relationship with them, I can do it. He looked at her and said, That South Luo immortal sect is closer to my place. This time, let the two of them come back with me. When the time comes, I will send them directly to that sect. Okay. She smiled and nodded, saying, I don't have to worry about Zhao Yang and the others, but I'm always worried that Feng Yi will cause trouble. Mo Zhe should also be ascending soon. I don't have time to take care of them, so I can only trouble you. There's no need to say such things between us. As Imo-chan spoke, he looked at her and said slowly, Now that you are the ruler of the 5 great territories, you have a great reputation. The other reclusive great emperors probably don't want to be enemies with you. Once Mo Zhe succeeds in his ascension, your family can be reunited. Hearing this, Fengjiu looked at him and saw that his eyebrows were like a painting. His white robe was spotless and his whole body exuded an otherworldly immortal qi. Compared to his past self, the current him seemed to be right in front of her, but was actually very far away. She said softly, Imo-chan, the years of immortality are long. I really hope that in the years to come, you can meet a woman who is truly in love with you and accompany you through your long life. Chapter 5150. Although he said so, he knew that he was destined to be alone for the rest of his life. Because in this world, except for Fengjiu, there was no one else who could move his heart. Hearing his words, Fengjiu couldn't help but reveal a gentle smile. She had happiness, and she also hoped that he could have the same happiness as her. She believed that such an outstanding and good person like him would definitely meet his own happiness in the future. 2 days later, Leng Hua, Hui Lang, and Ying Yi came back after arranging things there. In the hall, they reported to Fengjiu what had happened in the past 3 months. Now everything is on track. Everything has stabilized. When I left, I also arranged for people to guard the enchanted island. It can be said that there are no major issues. Leng Hua said, looking at his master who was sitting on the main seat. Madam, it's the same on our side. Everything has been settled. It doesn't matter if no one watches over there in the future. As long as we have time, we can go there and take a look occasionally. Hui Lang also said. This time, they brought back all their contracted beasts. As soon as they came back, the 2 cloud-swallowing beasts and the fire phoenix wandered around the enchanted island. Compared to the other 2 enchanted islands, they probably liked this one more. Well done. Now that you're back, have a good rest. I've already asked to make some delicious food for you. She comes from the family of the god of cookery and is very good at cooking. If you want to eat anything in the future, ask her to make it for you. Fengjiu said with a smile. Okay. The 3 of them responded. They looked at each other and smiled. Ah Jiu. A voice came. Several people in the hall saw Feng Yi in a purple robe running in from outside, followed by Zhao Yang. Seeing him, Fengjiu leaned back and looked at him leisurely, asking, What's wrong? Feng Yi glanced at Leng Hua and the other 2. He ran forward and came to Fengjiu. He reached out and hugged her arm, saying, Okay, Ah Jiu, let us play for a while more. You saw that we were trapped in the forest as soon as we came here. We just came out and you want us to go to the enchanted gate again. After we enter the enchanted gate, we can't go out to play. Ah Jiu, let us wait for a while more. A year, how about a year? Let us go out and travel by ourselves. A year later, we will go to the enchanted gate, okay? Feng Jiu was hugged by him with one hand, and her body was swayed by him like a spoiled child. She rolled her eyes speechlessly and said, Feng Yi, watch your image. You're not a child anymore. Image can't be eaten. Besides, I'm still a child. He said faintly and looked at her with an aggrieved expression. Seeing the scene in front of them, Leng Hua and the other two looked at each other. They smiled and bowed first, saying, Master, we'll leave first. Okay. Feng Jiu responded. After watching them leave, she reached out and flicked Feng Yi away from her arm. She watched him fall into the hall. She stood up and said, You see, you're so weak now. Do you think you have the ability to travel outside with your strength? Chapter 51-51. Looking at Feng Yi, who had his head lowered, she sighed softly and said, It's not that I want to discourage you, but you are grandfather's son. Since you were young, everyone in the Feng family has cherished and protected you. But because of this, you have experienced many things since you were young. When you were young, you encountered a disaster and left home to cultivate in the mountains. You have not had an easy journey. I know this, but I hope that you can do better. You can become stronger, so strong that you will not encounter the dangers that you encountered when you were young. Hearing her words, Feng Yi lowered his head guiltily. He knew that he was being willful. He stood up and looked at Feng Jiu, saying, Ah Jiu, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. You are doing this for my own good, I know. I shouldn't have been so willful. I will listen to you and go to the immortal sect. Feng Jiu said, It's fine as long as you know that I'm doing this for your own good. I specially asked Emochin to take the two of you to the South Net Immortal Sect. It's the #1 sect in the immortal dimension, and countless cultivators would fight to the death to enter it. Both of you have to cultivate properly once you arrive there. You have to know that it isn't just the two of you who have to cultivate in the sect, even Hao Chen and you will be cultivating by their master's side. I understand. Feng Yi nodded and said, There is one more thing. She looked at Feng Yi and Zhao Yang and said, After leaving this immortal island, you must not mention your relationship with me to anyone. Yes, we understand. The two of them replied. Okay, go back and prepare. Tomorrow you will set off with Emochin. She patted their shoulders and said, Okay. The two of them replied and walked out. Leng Shuang walked out from the side and looked at the two people who were leaving. He said, Only Master has a way. However, Master, do we need someone to protect them secretly when they go to the gate of immortality? Feng Jiu shook his head helplessly and said, Feng Yi is at the age when he is rebellious. Fortunately, as long as we talk to him nicely, he will listen. As for the immortal sect, Emochin will send them in. Generally speaking, there is no need to worry. Furthermore, the rules of the South Luo immortal sect are very strict. Killing each other will not happen in the sect. By the way, where's Emochin? Feng Jiu asked. He's admiring the scenery at the Rainbow Bridge, Leng Shuang said. Ask me to cook a few dishes to go with the wine. Send them to the peach blossom tree later. Feng Jiu instructed as he walked out. Seeing that she had left, Leng Shuang also walked towards the kitchen. After instructing me he went to check on Leng Hua first. The next morning, Feng Jiu sent Emochin, Feng Yi and Zhao Yang out of the immortal island. Looking at Feng Yi and Zhao Yang, Feng Jiu reminded them again, Keep the medicine that I gave you well in case you need it. When you reach the gate of immortality, focus on your cultivation. When I have time, I will visit you. Okay, we will cultivate well. The two of them replied. Don't worry. I will tell the immortal elder of the South Luo immortal sect to keep an eye on them. Emochin said gently, indicating that she did not need to worry. Okay, when Emoze ascends, we will find time to visit you. We will have a good gathering. Feng Jiu looked at him and said, I will wait for you. Emochin said with a smile. After saying goodbye, he left with the two of them. Chapter 51-52. To Xianyuan Mose, who was in the lower immortal world, 3 months of time was like the sand between his fingers, and it passed by in the blink of an eye. When he woke up, He could feel the power accumulating in his body, as if waiting for the right moment to break through the final barrier. He was preparing to ascend and return to the heavenly realm. He was the master of this realm, and now that he was about to ascend, he naturally wanted to do it here. He sat cross-legged at the peak of the mountain, and the aura around him surged. About 100 meters away from him, Chi Kong and the others were standing guard. Although the Yama Lord's ascension this time shouldn't be a big problem, they were still worried. They put down what they were doing and came here to guard the Yama Lord's final test. They believed that with the Yama Lord's strength, his ascension this time would be smooth. The wind and clouds in the sky surged, and a thundercloud appeared in the sky above Xianyuan Mo's. It seemed to cover an area of over 100 kilometers and blocked out the light. Because of this, the light in sight dimmed. Rumble, the muffled sound of thunder rang out in the clouds, one after another, as if it was brewing a powerful force. Until the first bolt of lightning flashed, and the heavenly thunder struck down from the clouds with a rumble, striking Xianyuan Mo's body below. Crack! Rumble! There was a loud rumble, and the sky seemed to light up with the first bolt of lightning. However, after the heavenly thunder struck down, the sky darkened again. A powerful airflow surged on Xianyuan Mo's body, and the spiritual aura around him crazily surged into his body. The moment the heavenly thunder sounded, Fengjiu in the upper immortal realm waved his hand, and a floating mirror appeared in the void. The mirror showed the scene of Xianyuan Mo's undergoing the heavenly thunder. Seeing him sitting there, her eyes flashed, and she became nervous. Even though she knew that he would successfully ascend, her heart would still be nervous before she saw him ascend. After all, he had failed to ascend back then. If it wasn't for Tianjizi, there would be no Xianyuan Mo's in this world. This time, I know you'll definitely succeed. Ah Zhe, I'll be waiting for you here, she softly muttered. At the same time, she released her divine sense to prevent anyone from taking advantage of the heavenly lightning to do anything to him. Behind her, Du Fan, Ling Hua, Hui Lang, and the others were also watching. Seeing that he was about to ascend again, they were excited. With the previous failure, they believed that he wouldn't take this risk if he wasn't confident. Therefore, this time, he would definitely ascend. On the other side, after hearing the heavenly thunder, the Qing Emperor's eyes flickered. He waved his hand, and a floating image appeared in front of him. When he saw Xianyuan Mo's undergoing the heavenly thunder, he said in a low voice with some surprise, "I didn't expect him to try to ascend again in such a short time. I wonder how it will turn out this time?" He wanted to call his 3 disciples over to watch, but when he remembered that they were still in seclusion, he gave up on the idea. If Xianyuan Mo successfully ascended this time, he would tell them the good news. Chapter 51-53. They weren't the only ones who heard the thunder. Even some of the hidden almighties had heard it. Is this the thunder for ascension again? Who's preparing to ascend this time? Take a look and you'll know. As they spoke, another elder who was sitting at the same stone table waved his hand and a mirror appeared in the void. It's him again? The other elder who was stroking his beard paused and looked at the person in the image in surprise. You know him? The other 2 looked at the elder. The 3 of them were all great emperors. However, they hadn't been involved in the affairs of the world for many years. It was as if they had retired from the world. However, too many things had happened in the past few years. In particular, the 3 great emperors had been killed by the Empress and the Phoenix Master a few days ago. Hence, the 3 of them had gathered to talk about this matter and the Lord of Fengjiu. However, they hadn't expected to see another expert preparing to ascend while the 3 of them were chatting. The 2 of you probably don't know. Coincidentally, I know a little about him. The elder who spoke stroked his beard and smiled. After looking at the 2 of them, he looked at the person in the image in the void and said, "This person has a great background." Putting aside his other identities, his most famous identity is the husband of Fengjiu, Xianyuan Mo's. Xianyuan Mo's? He's the husband of the Empress and the Phoenix Master? The one who spoke was a middle-aged great emperor. He looked at the person in the image and said, "Although I've never seen this person before, his name is well known. So it's him. I've heard that he's a heavenly calamity star, but he's also a heavenly fate emperor. He's destined to be a heavenly fate emperor. Now that I've seen him today, I feel that he matches the rumors," the other elder said as he looked at the black-robed man who was enduring the thunder. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. "Look, his aura seems a little different," the elder said in surprise as he looked at Xianyuan Mo's in the image. "What's with that dark aura?" The other two were also slightly startled, clearly not expecting to see such a scene. The aura of darkness has always been possessed by demonic cultivators. There's also the fact that they practice dark techniques, but that's something that righteous cultivators despise. Why does Xianyuan Mo's have the aura of darkness on him? Could it be that he cultivates the demonic Tao? As the old man spoke, he frowned slightly and looked at the two people beside him. Since Fengjiu is an immortal cultivator, her husband can't be a devil cultivator. There must be a problem. Another person said thoughtfully, "Perhaps we'll find out the reason after he ascends. If he's a demonic cultivator, are we going to let him ascend?" An old man asked with a frown. Hearing this, the two people next to him glanced at him and asked, "What else? Do you dare to stop him? Let's not talk about Xianyuan Mo's strength. We just finished talking about Fengjiu. She single-handedly killed 3 great emperors. With such strength, which great emperor in the immortal realm can be her match?" The middle-aged great emperor took a sip of tea and said, "I'm prepared to be on good terms with Fengjiu. I don't intend to be on bad terms with her because I have no chance of winning. This time, I'm still planning to marry her." Chapter 51-54. Indeed, there's no news of her child. After all, if someone from the lower immortal realm wants to come up, they have to ascend. The middle-aged man paused, looked at them, and said, "However, before that, I received a piece of news." "What news?" the two elders asked. "Do you know the origins of the people who are now in charge of the 3 destroyed great emperors' territories?" He looked at the two elders and asked. Hearing this, the two elders looked at each other and shook their heads. How would we know where the people around Fengjiu came from? They had not asked about this for many years. If it were not for the fact that 4 great emperors had died in the past few years, they would not have gathered here to discuss this matter. "I heard that Fengjiu broke the boundary of the heavenly Tao. She can freely travel between the upper immortal realm and the lower immortal realm. The people who are now in charge of the 3 great emperors' territories were brought up by her from the lower immortal realm. They used to be her trusted subordinate," the middle-aged man said. Seeing their shocked expressions, he knew that they did not know about this matter. How is this possible? For so many years, no one has been able to break the boundary of the void. Even great emperors from the upper immortal realm cannot go to the lower immortal realm. If cultivators from the lower immortal realm want to come up, the only way is to ascend. Only by ascending will the heavenly road open. It has been like this for millions of years. That's true. However, Fengjiu did something that no one has been able to do for millions of years. The middle-aged great emperor looked at the two elders and said, "That's why I said that Fengjiu can only be friends, not enemies. If this is true, then it's really unbelievable." The elder next to him murmured, "But if this is true, then why did Xianyuan Mo's ascend from below? Why didn't he come up directly?" When he said this, the middle-aged great emperor laughed. "Ha ha ha, it seems that you've become muddle-headed. Don't you know that ascending and ascending are 2 different things? If that's really the case, then Fengjiu is really too incredible," the old man muttered. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said, "If that's the case, then her child will naturally be brought up as well. This marriage will be possible." However, how old is Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mo's child? Can they be married? Another old man asked. In his heart, he was also thinking that when he returned, He had to get someone to inquire about it properly so that he wouldn't lose the initiative. Haha, when the middle-aged man saw that both of them had the same idea, he smiled and said, "Actually, I'm telling you this because I know that it won't be easy to become in-laws with Feng Jiu. Furthermore, even among the younger generation of our clan, I reckon that only one or two of the top direct descendants can compete with her and Xianyuan Mo's child." As he spoke, he smiled and glanced at the two of them. He said unhurriedly, "Moreover, as far as I know, among the descendants of the two of you, there is almost no one who is the same age as Feng Ix's child." The two elders looked at each other and asked, "How old is her child?" Chapter 51-55. The two of them were slightly startled. They thought about it and agreed that if they wanted to marry Feng Jiu's daughter, the person had to be the son of the current head of their family. Only the young master of their family would have the right to mention it to Feng Jiu. However, they did have a young master in their family, but he was already in his 20s. Even if they wanted to marry a 10-year-old girl, Feng Jiu and Xianyuan Mo's would probably not agree. The two of them shook their heads and smiled bitterly. "Looks like you've already asked around. Would you share your plans and information with us?" "Ha, of course." The middle-aged great emperor laughed heartily. He looked at the image in the sky and said, "Therefore, although I don't know why Xianyuan Mo's has the dark aura, I still hope that he can successfully ascend. When the time comes, we can take this opportunity to congratulate him, and at the same time, we can test their intentions and see if they have this intention. Since that's the case, let's wait here and watch him ascend," an old man said as his gaze fell on the image in the sky. Everyone was paying attention to Xianyuan Mo's ascension. Because of Feng Jiu's deterrence, no one dared to secretly attack him. As a result, he was able to withstand the tribulation of the heavenly lightning without a hitch. As the days passed, bolts of lightning struck and tempered him. On this day, when the last bolt of lightning was about to strike, everyone held their breath. "It's the last one," Luoyu said, feeling a little excited. "Yama Lord has ascended. We can finally reunite with Master and the others." Qi Kong also said, his eyes filled with joy. Feng Jiu looked at the last bolt of lightning in the sky, her palms sweating uncontrollably. Du Fan and the others standing behind her saw that she was a little nervous and said, "Master, Yama Lord will definitely ascend smoothly. Don't worry." "I know, I'm just nervous," Feng Jiu said, exhaling softly. "I'm even more nervous than when I ascended." Du Fan smiled and gently fanned himself with the fan in his hand. "Master, why don't you think about how we should celebrate after the Yama Lord ascends?" When Feng Jiu heard this, his attention shifted a little. He turned to look at them and revealed a smile. His gaze landed on Songmi and said, "When the time comes, how about we invite me, father and a few of her brothers to make a banquet for us?" "Sure. When does Master want to do it? I'll send a message to my father and the others right away and have them prepare to come over." Song Mir clapped her hands and said with a smile. Feng Jiu smiled, turned back to look at the image in the void, and said slowly, "After he ascends, you can send the news back." "Okay," Song Mir replied. In her mind, she was already thinking about what kind of dishes to make. At this moment, an extremely loud bolt of lightning struck down. The sound of the thunder was so powerful that it was like a strike of thunder. It gathered all the power of the previous bolts of lightning and turned them into one final bolt, which landed heavily on Xianyuan Mo's body. Chapter 51-56. That's the ancient Black Lotus? On a certain deity island, the three great emperors looked at the blooming Black Lotus from Xianyuan Mo's chest in astonishment. "Is that the Black Lotus? Didn't I hear that the Black Lotus had disappeared for many years? Why would it appear on Xianyuan Mo's body?" An old man stroked his beard as he spoke, deep in thought. "No wonder he has a dark aura. It's because the ancient Black Lotus is on him." But the middle-aged great emperor hesitated and looked at the two of them. He said solemnly, The ancient black lotus is an evil lotus. Looking at the situation, Xianyuan Mo's spiritual soul already has the imprint of the black lotus. If he ascends, I'm afraid he will become a demon, right? Hearing this, one of the elders didn't speak. He stroked his beard and stared at the man and the lotus in the void. No one knew what he was thinking. The other elder laughed and shook his head. He looked at the middle-aged great emperor and said, "No, you're wrong." The middle-aged great emperor looked at him in confusion. Even the elder who was deep in thought looked at the elder who spoke, waiting for him to continue. The elder smiled and looked at the man and the lotus in the void. His wise eyes were filled with joy. He said unhurriedly, "Since ancient times, evil and darkness have always been in people's hearts. Whether a person will become a demon or not doesn't depend on whether the black lotus has been imprinted on his spiritual soul. It depends on whether he has darkness in his heart, whether he has an evil side." He paused and stroked his beard. He looked at Xianyuan Mo's and the black lotus in the image and said, "Actually, people will more or less have a dark and weak side in their hearts. However, if their willpower is strong, the darkness won't be able to devour them. If their willpower isn't strong, the black lotus will trigger the darkest and most evil side in their hearts. Then, they will be controlled by the black lotus. Otherwise, they will be the ones controlling the black lotus." As he said this, he smiled and looked at the two of them. "This is very important. The one who is in control decides everything. Moreover," he paused and said, "the black lotus is an ancient item. It's called the black lotus of destruction. When it falls into the hands of some cultivators, the dark power of the black lotus can make them stronger. However, it can also make them lose their conscience and eventually fall into the evil Tao. In order to make up for their own weakness and incompetence, people call the black lotus an evil and dark item." He took a sip of tea and continued, "But in fact, it is one of the 4 lotus seeds of the chaotic green lotus. This black lotus doesn't have the regenerative power of the green lotus of creation, the purifying power of the red lotus of fire, or the holy power of the golden lotus of the virtuous golden lotus of virtue. It's called the black lotus of destruction. It is called the black lotus of destruction. It's power of the lotus's lotus. It's a black lotus's lotus. It's called the lotus of the black lotus of the lotus's lotus of the lotus of the lotus of the lotus's lotuses. Chapter 51-57. Don't rush to speak. Take a closer look at the black lotus and Xianyuan Mo's." The old man gestured for him to look at the man and the lotus in the picture. "I see." The other old man nodded in realization. "No wonder I couldn't put my finger on it when I looked at it." The middle-aged great emperor couldn't help but ask, "Why don't you tell me what you know?" "Ha ha 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 ha." Seeing that he was anxious, the 2 old men laughed loudly. They stroked their beards and looked at each other. One of them said, "You? How old are you? Why are you still so impatient?" The old man smiled and said, "Take a closer look. Isn't Xianyuan Mo's and the black lotus like one?" Hearing this, the middle-aged great emperor was stunned. He looked at the picture and saw that the man and the lotus were very harmonious. It was as if there was a lotus in the man and a man in the lotus. The man and the lotus had reached the realm of one with the lotus. Why didn't I notice it just now?" he said in surprise. Only then did he understand what they meant. The realm of one with the lotus. It seems that Xianyuan Mo's has indeed become the owner of the black lotus of destruction. "That's right." The old man nodded. "Since he is the owner, the black lotus's dark chi is a powerful force for him. It seems that we have to prepare a generous gift to congratulate him. The upper immortal realm is going to give birth to another powerful great emperor. It's really not easy." The other old man stroked his beard and smiled. On the other side, when Emperor Qing saw the black lotus of destruction on Xianyuan Mo's, he was also stunned. Then, he revealed an imperceptible smile and whispered, as expected of Xianyuan Mo's, On the other side, on the fairy island where Fengjiu was, when Fengjiu saw that he and the Black Lotus had reached the realm of one with the lotus, he was slightly stunned. Then, he revealed a relieved smile. It seems that I don't have to worry anymore. She had been worried about what would happen to Black Lotus in the future, but now it seemed that her worries were superfluous. It was also at this moment that the loudest thunderclap rang out, and the dark clouds in the sky dispersed. Multicolored rays of light shone down from the 9 heavens, and celestial music came from the clouds. At the same time, the path to heaven slowly opened within the multicolored rays of light. Chi Kong and the others looked at the scene excitedly and couldn't help but shout, "Good! This is great! The Yama Lord has finally ascended! Look, the heavenly road is open, just like when Master ascended." The grand occasion of ascension shook the 9 heavens. Now, all the sovereigns in the lower immortal realm naturally knew about it. They looked at the multicolored light enviously, as well as the heavenly road that had opened up to the upper immortal realm. This heavenly road could be said to be the path that all cultivators yearned for the most. However, for many years, except for Fengjiu, Emochen, and Xianyuan Mose, almost no one had ascended, and no one dared to try. They envied them for being able to ascend to the 9 heavens, but they didn't dare to try because if they failed, they would die immediately. All the sovereigns and cultivators were watching this grand occasion. They knew that perhaps in this lifetime, they would never have the chance to see another cultivator ascend. The heavenly road was open. Chapter 51-58. His deep gaze landed on the mountains and rivers in front of him. His black robes fluttered in the wind, emitting a whistling sound. He patrolled his territory like a monarch until the godlike figure slowly flew up from the holy light. He didn't take a step, but the holy light and the cool breeze in the air lifted him up and led him to the open path to heaven. His figure slowly rose up from the path. "Congratulations, Yama Lord! Congratulations, Yama Lord!" Chi Kong and the others were excited, and their faces revealed excited and joyful smiles. They cupped their hands and bowed. Their voices were sonorous and powerful, and they contained a powerful pressure and spiritual energy aura that reverberated in the sky. Xianyuan Mose looked at them. When his gaze landed on them, he nodded slightly. Then, his body flew up and disappeared from everyone's sight in the immortal realm. In the sky above, there were continuous rumbling sounds. The sound of heavenly music filled the entire sky. Almost everyone could hear it. When Fengjiu saw that Mose had successfully ascended, her face was full of smiles. She waved her hand to remove the mirror in the sky. When she turned around, Du Fan and the others saluted her. "Congratulations, Master! Yama Lord has successfully ascended. The day of your family's reunion is just around the corner." Fengjiu smiled and exclaimed, "That's right. This day has finally come. It really wasn't easy. I'll immediately send a message to my father and the others and have them set off immediately." Songmi said happily, then turned and ran off. "Master, we'll also go and make some preparations," Lenghua and Du Fan said, then turned and left. After Yama Lord ascended, they would be very busy. Apart from the celebratory banquet, they also had to make arrangements for external affairs. But all in all, Yama Lord's ascension was great news. Master had waited so long for this day, and it had finally come. They were happy from the bottom of their hearts. From this moment on, their master and the Yama Lord would no longer be separated. They could be together forever. Hui Lang stood there and laughed foolishly. He was so happy that he laughed like a fool. Yi glanced at him with disgust, but the corners of his lips couldn't help but raise. Their master had finally ascended. It was indeed a great thing. What were they going to do next? After thinking for a while, he said, "Madam, let's go down and make some preparations." As he spoke, he pulled the giggling Hui Lang and quickly caught up with Du Fan and the others. Since their master had ascended, they had to be prepared to welcome him. Fengjiu couldn't help but laugh as he watched them leave. At this moment, he was filled with indescribable joy and anticipation. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. She was happy not only because of Mose's successful ascension, but also because they were one step closer to the life they wanted to live. She raised her head to look at the sky and listened to the heavenly music. She couldn't help but smile again. Meanwhile, at Cloud Sky Mountain, Emperor Qing brushed away the mirror in the void. He wanted to tell them about the good news of their father's ascension, but he stopped after thinking about it. Forget it, there was no rush. If he told them now, they probably wouldn't be able to calm down and cultivate. Chapter 51-59. Now that the couple had successfully ascended and become great emperors in the upper immortal realm, no matter who it was in the future, they would only befriend them and not be enemies. The safety of the 3 children that they had been worried about was probably no longer an issue. Then, if they came to Cloud Sky Mountain, would they take the 3 children back? Thinking of this, his brows knitted together. His deep and calm eyes glanced in the direction of the cave residence of the 3 children, and a dark light flashed in his eyes. It was not impossible to take the 2 boys back, but he had doted on Shao-Chi for several years and watched her grow up. If he took her back, wouldn't it be too much? Those 2 boys were like a taciturn gourd, with a taut face every day and not much talk on normal days. He estimated that if they did not appear in front of him for 10 days or half a month, he would not think of them. But Shao-Chi, that girl, was mischievous and mischievous. The years in this mountain were quiet, and it was because of her that there was a trace of liveliness. If she was taken away, then wouldn't his place return to its previous lifeless state? The more he thought, the tighter his brows knitted together. However, what he did not know at this time was that not only because Xianyuan Mose had ascended and would soon come here to take the 3 children back for a reunion, but at this time, Xiao Junyan, who had met Yer a few years ago, had also stepped on the road to look for Yer at the same time. In the Xiao family's immortal island, Roaring Sky Emperor was sitting in the main hall, looking at the people of the Xiao family sitting on the left and right sides of the hall. After looking around, his brows furrowed and he asked, "Where is Xiao Junyan?" Xiao Junyan, the most outstanding child of the Xiao family's direct line of descent, was also the Xiao family's key successor, but at this time, he was not in the main hall. Hearing this, the Xiao family head was startled for a moment, and then he said, "Old ancestor, he left the island a few days ago and is not on the island now. I wonder if old ancestor is looking for him for something important?" He felt strange in his heart. Why would the old ancestor, who had not asked about the affairs of the family for a long time, ask about him? Left the island? Where did he go? Roaring Sky Emperor asked. It's like this. A few years ago, the disciple of Emperor Qing came here by accident and spent some time with Junyan. The 2 children got along quite well. Later, Emperor Qing's disciple was sent away and Junyan also cultivated in seclusion for a few years. A few days ago, Emperor Qing's disciple, said Junyan, came out of seclusion and said that he would go out to travel and see that little girl. I thought it was not a big deal, so I agreed. Xiao family head said cautiously. He had a feeling that something was about to happen. Emperor Qing's disciple? Girl, great Emperor Howling Sky recalled that there was indeed such an incident a few years ago. However, he had forgotten about it in the blink of an eye. He did not expect to be brought up again after a few years. Yes, it's that little girl called Cloud 7. Patriarch Xiao said. World Emperor. Is? Chapter 51-60. Yes. Everyone replied respectfully in unison and listened to the ancestors' instructions for a while. All right, you may leave first. The Roaring Sky Emperor waved his hand and motioned for them to leave first. Thus, after everyone agreed, they left first. Just as Patriarch Xiao and the other elders were about to leave, they heard his voice again. You may stay. Hearing this, they looked at each other and stopped. They turned to the center of the hall and said, Ancestor, Do you have any other orders? Sit down. The roaring sky emperor motioned for them to sit down. They looked at each other and sat down, waiting for him to continue. I want to let Junyan marry Fengjiu's daughter. What do you think? He asked and looked at everyone present. All of them were stunned when they heard this, and they hesitated for a moment before one of the elders said, Ancestor, I seem to have never heard of Fengjiu's child. Moreover, even if there is, I presume her child is in the lower immortal dimension, right? How can he marry them across the 9 heavens? What's more, Junyan is cold by nature and is rarely interested in people and things. If this marriage is arranged, I'm afraid. Patriarch Shao also nodded his head and said, Great Elder is right. Although Junyan is the most outstanding among the younger generation, he is just like a lone wolf. You say, to suddenly arrange such a marriage for him, I am also worried that it will backfire. He paused and said, All these years, I have seen that he is different to Emperor Qing's disciple, Yunqi. This time, he left the island for Yunqi. So, I think that if we want to arrange a marriage for him, we should discuss it with him first. Yes. Old ancestor, I also think that what Master said makes sense. She is the daughter of Empress Fengjiu. If she is really engaged, it is not easy to go back on your word. However, if Junyan does not have that intention, then this marriage will have the opposite effect. Another elder also spoke up. Martial Monarch Roaring Sky fell into deep thought upon hearing this. He frowned and said, Let's call him back first. I'll talk to him personally. Yes. They could only respond. Seeing that he had no other orders, they retreated. Patriarch Shao returned to the main courtyard and saw that his son was also there. He asked, Why are you here? What's the matter? As he spoke, he sat down by the stone table in the courtyard. His brows were slightly furrowed, and his face showed that he was deep in thought. Father, is something the matter? Xiao Juanheng asked as she sat down beside him. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's question, the Xiao clan lord glanced at him. The son in front of him had an outstanding demeanor and a handsome countenance. If it wasn't for Xiao Junyan, he would definitely be the most outstanding among the younger generation. Thinking of this, he sighed softly and told him everything that had happened in the main hall. In the end, he said, It's like this. Old ancestor wants to let Junyan marry Fengjiu's daughter. When I came back, I had already sent a message to Junyan, asking him to make a trip back. As he spoke, he looked at his son beside him and asked, Junheng, what do you think of this matter? As he spoke, he stared at his expression, not letting go of a single trace of it. Chapter 5161. Don't you have any resentment or jealousy in your heart? Patriarch Shao asked, his gaze falling on his face. Hearing this, Xiao Juanheng was startled for a moment, then asked back with a smile, Father, do you think I'm that kind of person? I know you're not that kind of person, but if it wasn't for Junyan, perhaps you would be the young master of the Xiao family. If there were any good things, it would fall on you and not Junyan. So I don't know if you still don't have any resentment or jealousy in your heart after seeing this. He sighed softly, his tone deep. Father, you don't have to worry. I've never thought of comparing myself with Junyan. We're all disciples of the Xiao family and grew up together. Although we're cousins, we're closer than real brothers. Junyan is very outstanding. I'll only be proud of him, happy for him, and not jealous. He smiled and continued, and I also know that his father is the patriarch of the Xiao family, so it's natural for him to be the young master of the Xiao family. Actually, I think this is pretty good. At least I'm not the young master of the Xiao family, so the burden on my shoulders won't be so heavy. Hearing this, Patriarch Shao nodded in relief, patted his shoulder and said, As expected of my son. Good, very good. It's just that, after hearing what you said, I also feel that the old ancestor's idea isn't very good. He looked at his father and said, With Junyan's personality, I'm afraid he won't like this kind of marriage arranged by the elders of the family. Moreover, I know that he has a good impression of Emperor Qing's disciple, Yunqi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left the island to look for her after coming out of seclusion. There's also one more thing. Xiao Juanheng's voice paused, looking at his father, slightly hesitant. Speak, I'm listening. Patriarch Xiao gestured. It's just that the matter of the engagement is only the old ancestors' one-sided idea. I feel that the Empress and the Phoenix Master might not agree to such a marriage. He spoke out the concerns in his heart. Hearing this, Patriarch Xiao laughed, nodded, looked at him and said, Juanheng, you've really grown up. That's right. What you just said is also what I'm thinking. Even if the Patriarch is interested in this marriage, I don't think it will happen. He smiled and shook his head. Thinking that his son could also see this point and could sit down with him to analyze this matter, he was very happy. However, we see that the ancestor is looking forward to this marriage, and no one dares to go against his wishes. For now, let's just do as he says. It's rare for Junyan to leave the island. If we call him back now, will he come back? Xiao Juanheng asked. I have already told him. As for whether he will come back or not, it depends on his own plans. I think if he doesn't come back, he will also tell the old ancestor. Patriarch Xiao smiled and said, Well, you go back first. Yes. After speaking, Xiao Juanheng stood up and left. On the other side, Xianyuan Mo's ascension, the completion of the fairy island, and the worship of the experts from all over the world gathered in front of the fairy island that was completed with his ascension. They were ready to pay their respects to the great emperor who had just ascended. Chapter 5162. I've long heard of the Yama Lord's name. I didn't expect to see him ascend today. I'm sure the Empress and the Phoenix Master will be here too. Of course, when a great emperor ascends, everyone will come to congratulate him. Not only will the Empress and the Phoenix Master come, I think the other hidden great emperors will also come to congratulate him personally. I haven't seen such a grand occasion in a long time. I'm really looking forward to it. The crowd chatted outside the deity island. They wanted to enter the island to pay a visit. However, the deity island was covered with a barrier. Without the Yama Lord's permission, they did not dare to enter. At that moment, someone exclaimed, Look! Everyone looked in the direction of the exclamation and saw a whirlpool appear in the void. Then, a red figure walked out of the whirlpool. There were a few people behind her. It's the Phoenix Master. Greetings, Phoenix Master! Greetings, Phoenix Master! The crowd regained their senses and quickly lowered their heads. They did not dare to look at her face. Instead, they bowed respectfully. Fengjiu looked at the crowd and smiled faintly. She said, Today is the day my husband ascends and the day the deity island is completed. I don't think he has time to meet all of you. Everyone, please go back for now. After a while, I will send out an invitation to all of you to congratulate me. Hearing this, everyone was overjoyed. They couldn't help but look at each other in surprise. Then, they hurriedly cupped their fists and said, Yes, we will follow the Phoenix Master's orders. We will first congratulate the King of Hell on his ascension. In the future, we will bring gifts to congratulate you. Fengjiu nodded. She watched as they bowed and left one after another. Then, she looked at the immortal island in front of her, and a gentle smile appeared on her face. Just as she was about to step forward, Xianyuan Mo, who was on the enchanted island, seemed to have sensed her arrival. The enchantment of the enchanted island opened, and a black figure slowly walked out from the gate of immortality. Xianyuan Mo was dressed in a low-key yet luxurious black robe. His entire body exuded a powerful aura. He walked over slowly, and when his gaze landed on Fengjiu, he revealed a gentle and affectionate smile. Jiu, I'm here as promised. As he spoke, he walked up to her, took her hand, and pulled her into his arms. It's good that you're here. Fengjiu smiled happily and wrapped her arms around his waist. Her heart was filled with joy. Congratulations on your ascension, Master. Hui Lang and Ing Yi stepped forward and cupped their hands and congratulated him. Congratulations on your ascension, Yama Lord. Du Fan and Ling Shuang also stepped forward and congratulated him with smiles. Feng Jiu only brought a few people with him. The others stayed on the deity island to make arrangements. Xianyuan Mose looked at them and nodded slightly. Then, he said to Feng Jiu, who had retreated from his arms, Jiu, you came at the right time. I was just about to merge this deity island with the one you're on now. They were husband and wife. Now that they had both ascended, it was natural for them to merge their places. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled and said, I was thinking the same thing. As she spoke, she took his hand and walked with him to the deity island while talking about the merger. Behind them, Du Fan, Ling Shuang, Hui Lang, and Ing Yi looked at each other and followed them. A few days later. Chapter 5163. Since he couldn't get to the mountain pass, he stopped and looked at the place filled with clouds and mist. A deep thought flashed through his mind. He had heard that the cloud sky mountain of the Qing Emperor was shrouded in clouds all year round, making it difficult to find the entrance of the mountain. He did not expect it to be true. He had never been here before. Even if he went around, he would not be able to find the way up the mountain. So, with a thought, he mobilized the spiritual energy in his body, and a voice that contained spiritual energy echoed in the air. I am Xiao Junyan, here to visit the Qing Emperor. Please meet me. The voice that contained the aura of spirit power spread through the clouds and naturally entered the ears of the Azure Tharch, who was on Cloud Sky Mountain. At this moment, the Qing Emperor was reading a book on the soft couch under the tree. When he heard the voice, he raised his head and looked down the mountain. Xiao Junyan. His deep voice carried some indifference. His deep eyes flashed, as if he was thinking about who this Xiao Junyan was. He closed the book that was originally open in his hand and casually placed it aside. Xiao Junyan? The young man that Cloud 7 met in the Xiao family's territory a few years ago? He raised his eyebrows, as if surprised that the young master of the Xiao family, Xiao Yunyan, would find this place. He lay on the soft couch leisurely and his deep voice fell into the ears of Xiao Junyan at the foot of the mountain. I have some friendship with the Roaring Sky Emperor. As for you, Xiao Junyan, a mere young master of the Xiao family, what right do you have for me to meet you? At the foot of the mountain, Xiao Junyan's expression changed slightly when he heard the voice. He said, Qing Emperor, other than to visit the Qing Emperor, I am here to see Cloud 7. If it is not convenient for the Qing Emperor to let me go up the mountain, can you let Cloud 7 go down the mountain? When the Qing Emperor heard that he was here for Cloud 7, he pursed his lips and said unhurriedly, You came at the wrong time. Cloud 7 is still in seclusion. Hearing this, Xiao Junyan frowned and asked, When will she come out of seclusion? He came thousands of miles and did not expect to see her in seclusion. This seclusion could be as short as 10 days to half a month, or as long as several years or even longer. Could it be that this trip was for nothing? He couldn't see her anymore? It's hard to say. The Azure Emperor's voice was neither cold nor warm. I have something here. I wonder if the Qing Emperor can pass it to the 7th cloud on my behalf? Xiao Junyan asked again. Emperor Qing, who was on the mountain, was displeased by his endless pestering. He looked down the mountain and frowned. Then, he called out coldly in a low voice, Xiao Yunyan. Perhaps Xiao Yunyan could hear the displeasure in Emperor Qing's voice, so she replied, I'm here. I don't like it when someone comes to disturb my disciple's cultivation, he said bluntly. His words clearly expressed his dislike for Yi Futian. Qing Emperor, I won't disturb his cultivation. I just want to see him, Xiao Junyan said again. Don't you understand what I'm saying? The Cyan Emperor said in a low voice, Leave. When she comes out of seclusion, I will tell her that you came to find her. Chapter 5164. Xiao Junyan, who was sent away, pursed his lips. He knew that since Emperor Qing did not allow him to go up to see Yunqi, he could not go up. However, he was unwilling to go back just like that. Therefore, he decided to wait at the foot of the mountain. After Emperor Qing sent him away, he picked up the book again and flipped through it. However, after flipping through a few pages, he could not understand anything. He put away the book, stood up and walked towards Yunqi's cave abode. Before he reached her cave abode, he saw Yunchen walking towards him. Master, Howard bowed to him and said, "I just came out of seclusion and was about to go to Master." Emperor Qing glanced at him and noticed the change in his aura. He relaxed his expression and said, "It seems that you have made a breakthrough. Very good. Since you have come out of seclusion, I have something to tell you." Hearing this, Howard looked at him and saw that he was looking in the direction of Yunqi's cave residence. He said, "Is Master looking for junior sister?" Actually, the three of us agreed that regardless of whether we have broken through or not, we will all come out of seclusion today. I think the two of them will also come out today. Hearing this, Emperor Qing raised his eyebrows. "You have an agreement?" "Yes." Howard nodded and asked, "Master said that you have something to tell me. What is it?" Hearing his words, Emperor Qing said, "Since the two of them will come out of seclusion today, you go and wait for them. Call them over, and then I will tell them together." As soon as he finished speaking, he withdrew his gaze and turned to walk back. "Yes," Howard responded. He felt a little strange but did not ask further. Instead, he turned and went to wait in front of his younger brother and sister's cave residence. The three of them had an agreement before they went into seclusion. Therefore, in the evening, Yun Yuan and Yunqi also came out of the cave residence. Time passed quickly in the mountains. In a few years, they had grown a lot taller. They were no longer the little children they were back then but could be considered young men. "Big brother!" When Howard saw him, he ran over happily. "Big brother, you have broken through again?" "Yes." Howard nodded and smiled when he saw her. "I came out of seclusion at noon and waited here for you to come out so that we can go to Master together. I think Master has something to tell us. Could it be that Mother is here?" Mu Chen, who was walking over, heard their conversation and asked. "I don't know. Master didn't reveal anything. He only told us to go over in a while." As Howard spoke, he looked at the two of them and said, "Since you guys have both exited seclusion, then let's go over. I don't want to keep Master waiting." "Okay." She nodded with a smile and said, "I was going to come out early, but I took a bath and changed my clothes. After that, I've been wandering around until now." The three of them chatted and laughed along the way. Not long after, they arrived in front of their master's abode. "Master, your disciple has brought junior brother and junior sister over," Howard said from outside the cave. "Master! Master! Mu Chen-ha?" The two of them also called out. Compared to Mu Chen, they were more respectful. Howard, on the other hand, was all smiles. He even played with the ends of his hair, and poked his head out to look into the cave residence. "Come in." Emperor Qing's voice came from inside the cave residence. Chapter 5165. "Master, disciple hasn't seen you for a long time. Did Master miss little Qi?" As soon as you were entered inside, she trotted forward, arrived at his side and hugged his arm. Then with a smile, she asked with her pair of beautiful eyes. No other reason, since childhood, her master had doted on her the most, and also treated her the best among the three of them. If there were any good things, he would always leave them for her. Occasionally there would be some extremely rare spirit fruit, but her big brother and brother didn't have it, but she would absolutely have one. Therefore, even if her master always looked indifferent to everything, but she knew that her master treated her the best. And it was precisely because of this. So compared to her big brother and brother, who were respectful and didn't dare to be impudent in front of her master, she was more casual and natural. Emperor Qing looked at the little girl, whom he had watched grow up, holding his arm and smiling. He said, "Sit down. I have something to tell you." "Okay." Yu let go of his arm, then obediently sat beside him and looked at him. "You two also sit." Qing Emperor hinted to the two who were standing to sit down. "Yes." Both of them answered, then walked forward and sat down. Seeing there was a teapot on the table, Yu spontaneously started to brew tea for her master, then poured several cups, and separately served them in front of her master's two brothers. Finally, she also poured a cup for herself, then like a little fox, she narrowed her eyes and drank the tea. Qing Emperor indifferently shot a glance at her, then said, "A few days ago, your father Xianyuan Mose succeeded in ascending." Yu who was drinking tea, heard these words. She became happy, then her hand shook, and the tea spilled out and splashed on her hand. And when her hand was scalded, she instinctively loosened her hand, and the teacup also fell from her hand. Just as the tea was about to splash onto her body, a slender hand reached out and caught the teacup. After placing it on the table, he glanced at the back of her hand that was scalded red. He frowned slightly and scolded in a deep voice, "How could you be so careless?" Yu stuck out her tongue and said, "Master, I was too excited, but it's nothing, just scalded. Apply some ointment." Hao took out a bottle of medicine. When he was about to help her apply it, he saw that the medicine was taken away by their master. Seeing his master take the medicine and wipe the back of her hand, he asked, "Master, does this mean that our father has really ascended?" "Yes," Cyan Emperor answered. Then after helping Yu apply the ointment on her scalded hand, he said, "I reckon that they will come over to see you after a period of time." Hearing this, the three of them couldn't help but look at each other with big smiles on their faces. "That's great," Mu Chen said. "Master, how much do you know about my father's situation? Didn't he? Master is not clear about other matters. I only know that he has successfully ascended and everything is going smoothly. At that time, when you see them, you can personally ask whatever you want to ask." Finished speaking, he handed the medicine to her and instructed, "Apply it before sleeping at night." Okay. Yu answered with a beaming smile, then said, "Master, then can we go back? My father and mother have both ascended. Does that mean we can return to their side in the future?" Chapter 5166. Yu looked into his deep eyes. Hearing her master's words, she felt that if she didn't answer well, her master would be sad. Therefore, she thought for a moment and said, "I miss my parents, but I also want to cultivate with you." Emperor Qing looked at the little face in front of him and paused for a moment before saying, "Then wait for them to come and pick you up when they're done. At that time, you can go back with them. If you still want to come back to me, Cloud Sky Mountain will always be open to you." Hao and Mu Chen looked at each other and stood up. They cupped their hands and said, "Thank you, Master." As soon as he finished speaking, Hao said, "Master, I hope that I can always cultivate by your side. Not as our father, mother, and son, but as Yun Chen." "Master, I feel the same," Mu Chen also said. Today, when he heard that his father had ascended, he was happy from the bottom of his heart, but he also knew that his father and mother were very strong, very powerful experts. As their child, he also hoped that he could become very strong and let everyone know of his strength, so that when others mentioned him, they would say that he was the son of the Yama Lord and the Phoenix Master. Yu heard their words and immediately said, "Master, I also feel the same." Emperor Qing looked at the three of them and said, "I know what you're thinking. When you first came under my tutelage, I told your mother that here, no one will ever know that you're Fengjiu's children. Here, you're only my disciples. Now, your appearances are different from your original appearances. Even if you appear in front of others in the future, no one will suspect your identity." Yu touched her own face and said with a beaming smile, "Speaking about it, I have almost forgotten my appearance, but my current appearance is so beautiful, so my original appearance is definitely even more beautiful." The Qing Emperor glanced at her when he heard this. A smile flashed through his eyes as he said, "There's one more thing. Some time ago, your mother killed 3 emperors by herself. Her name can be said to have shaken the entire upper immortal world. With this incident and your father's ascension, I reckon that there won't be many people who will dare to go against them in the future." I knew that my mother and father were very strong, Yu said with a smile. In the future, I will definitely be as strong as them. Master, don't you think so? The prerequisite is that you cultivate well. Emperor Qing glanced at her and said, Master, don't worry. I will cultivate well and listen to your words, she promised with a smile. Hao thought for a while and said, Master, if our father just ascended, is it not very appropriate for us to go back now? Do you plan to go back by yourselves? Emperor Qing asked. Hao and Mu Chun looked at each other and said, Master, why don't you take us there? If we go there as your disciples, we shouldn't attract any suspicion or attention. Also, since our father has already ascended to become a great emperor, the other great emperors will definitely be there, so. Chapter 51-67. Hearing his words, Qing Emperor thought for a moment, then looking at the 3 of them, he said, If you follow Master, then you won't be able to stay there for too long. Then Master can also stay there as a guest for a period of time, Yu said with a smile. Qing Emperor paused for a moment, then said, All right then. At that time, Master will bring you there, but before that, tell your mother that there's no need for them to come and pick you up, Master will bring you there. Okay. The 3 of them looked at each other and smiled, then responded in a crisp voice. There's one more thing. Qing Emperor looked at Yu and said, There's a person called Xiao Junyan who came to look for you, but when you were in seclusion, Master chased him away. He also didn't come near and just waited at the foot of the mountain. Do you want to see him? Or not? Xiao Junyan? Yu was startled, then thinking for a moment, she asked, Is it that Big Brother Junyan? Big Brother Junyan? Qing Emperor didn't open his mouth, but Hao and Mu Chun at the side coincidentally repeated what she said, their voices slightly raised, and their brows slightly wrinkled. Obviously, they weren't used to it and also didn't like it. Other than them, their younger sister actually called other people Big Brother. Qing Emperor indifferently glanced at his 2 disciples, then silently took a sip of tea, and didn't say anything. Yu didn't expect that the reaction of these 2 people would be so big. Seeing their calm faces and wrinkled eyebrows, and their 4 eyes staring at her, she smiled embarrassedly and explained, It's that time when I secretly sneaked out. Didn't I go to that heavenly emperor's immortal island? At that time, I met him there, Xiao Junyan, the young master of Xiao family. He is older than me, and also very good to me, so I called him Big Brother Junyan. Why did this person come to look for you? You didn't tell him whose daughter you are, right? Mu Chen furrowed his brows and asked with a straight face. He stared at his sister, worried that someone might have designs on her. No, absolutely not. At that time, I only told them that my name is Yunqi, and my master is Qing Emperor. Afterwards, I stayed there for several days and left. It has already been several years. If master didn't mention him, I would have almost forgotten him. So, I also don't know why he came to find me really. Yu hastily said, fearing that they wouldn't believe her. Emperor Qing was holding a teacup and gently blowing at it. He was scraping the tea leaves and drinking it unhurriedly as if he didn't hear the 3 of them talking. Right now, father and mother's reputation in the upper immortal realm is extraordinary. If people find out that you're their daughter, it's hard to guarantee that those people won't have any ill intentions. So, you must not let anyone know your identity. Also, don't get too close to this Xiao Junyan. Mu Chun put on the airs of an elder brother and lectured with a straight face. I know, I will definitely not let anyone know that my mother is Fengjiu, and my father is Yamalord. Yu hastily promised and said with a beaming smile, But Big Brother, this Big Brother Junyan is actually very good to me, really, at that time, he took care of me. But later on, when I left, I didn't even say a word to him. Now that he came to find me, it's possible that he wants to meet me. I should be able to meet him, right? After all, he came from afar. Chapter 5168. Emperor Qing put down the teacup in his hand and looked at her. Since you want to go, then go. But the two of them have to go with you. He looked at his two disciples. Looked at her master, then at her two brothers. She thought for a while and nodded. All right then. It's already dark today. Go tomorrow. I need to rest. You guys can go back too. Emperor Qing gestured for them to return to their cave abode. Yes. The three of them answered and left. After the three of them left the cave abode, they walked back to the stone table outside the cave abode and sat down. They took out their communication jade tablets and sent messages to their mother, asking about the matter and the matters of returning. Not long after, they heard the news from their mother. The three of them listened carefully and secretly noted it down. After a while, after replying to the message, the three of them began to discuss. Mother said that she will invite the strong cultivators from all over the world to gather in a few days. Then we can take this opportunity to go back. But I reckon that father and mother will be busy these few days. We should be able to leave in a few days. Hao-er looked at the two of them and said, Then let's tell master about this news tomorrow. Mu Chen also spoke up. Rolled her eyes and said, Mother said that many people will be invited to the banquet held for father's ascension. Even the other reclusive great emperors will be invited. Won't it be very lively then? She thought that if it was really as her mother had said, then Brother Jun Yan's family would probably be there as well. We have already told Mother. When the time comes, we will go as master and disciple. There will be many people and eyes, so we have to be careful of our words and actions. Otherwise, people will notice something strange. Hao-er instructed. Big brother, don't worry. I know. Mu Chen nodded and said, Of course I'm not worried about you. I'm just worried. He looked at He said helplessly. Big brother, don't worry. I promise that there won't be any trouble. Promised with a smile. However, the two of them did not really believe her promise. The three of them chatted here until late at night before returning to their cave abodes to rest. The next morning, when she came out of the cave, she saw that her two brothers were already waiting outside. She blinked and looked at them with a smile. Big brother, why are you up so early? Aren't we going to meet that Xiao Junyan? We'll go with you, Mu Chen said as his gaze fell on her. Today, she was wearing a sky-blue dress with the deity striking whip at her waist. Her black hair was combed into two braids that fell in front of her chest. At the end of her hair, there was a ribbon of the same color as her dress, tied into two beautiful bows. Her ink-black hair was adorned with two sky-blue ribbons. She looked like she had put in a lot of effort into dressing up. Even though the face she had now was not her original face, she still looked very beautiful. Mu Chen wasn't the only one who noticed her special outfit today. Even Hao-er noticed it. Hence, his gaze fell on her as he sized her up. Chapter 5169. Hearing her words, Hao-er and Mu Chen looked at each other and said in unison, This is not good. Is it not good? Yu looked at them in surprise, then looked at the dress she was wearing and said, This is the dress Mother prepared for me, and this is a new one. Why is it not good? I think it looks pretty good. It's too eye-catching, Hao-er said and looked at his sister. He felt that the little girl had specially dressed up to meet that guy surnamed Xiao, and he felt uncomfortable. It's too eye-catching, Mu Chen also said seriously. He looked at her seriously and said, I think you should just wear your usual clothes. Also, don't tie that flower on your head. It doesn't look good. Is that so? I don't have a lot of flowers. Then should I go back and change? She looked at the two and asked. And go back and change, the two said in unison. Seeing that both brothers said it was not good, she thought for a while and obediently walked back to the cave, saying, Then wait for me, I'll be out in a while. After watching her enter the cave, Mu Chen's handsome little face tensed up and said, "Big brother, I don't like this Xiao Junyan. Why did he feel that someone was snatching his sister away from him? This guy surnamed Xiao, he already didn't like him before he even met him." Hao said with a sour tone, "You were specially dressed up to see that guy surnamed Xiao. Why didn't she dress up for us when she saw us?" The two brothers complained in front of the cave until they saw Yu come out, and then they shut up. "Big brother, how do I look? It's not eye-catching, right?" Yu walked forward with a smile, and opened her arms to give them a twirl. The pink dress was not new, but it was not old either. It still fit her very well. Compared to the smart and refined sky blue dress, she looked cuter and more charming in this pink dress. No matter how you looked at it, it was beautiful. Yu is good-looking. She looks good no matter what she wears, Hao said with some helplessness in his tone. "Sister, come here." Mu Chen beckoned to her. "He's here." Seeing this, Yu trotted forward and arrived at their side. Beaming with smiles, she asked, "Am I okay like this? Can we go down the mountain?" Mu Chen reached out and removed the 2 small beads on her hair. "You don't have to wear any more. You look good like this. It's clean, simple, and pleasing to the eye. This pearl hair clip was bought by Mother for me. Usually, I am not willing to wear it," Yu said. Looking at the hair clip taken down by her brother, she truly didn't know what he was doing. The pearl hair clip was a girl's thing, so he couldn't wear it. "Keep it, you can wear it later." Mu Chen handed the hair clip back to her and said, "Remember to change the way you address me after we go down the mountain." I know, Yu answered. While putting away the pearl hair clips, she followed them down the mountain. Sitting on a rock at the foot of the mountain, Xiao Junyan was resting with his eyes closed when he suddenly heard someone calling him. He couldn't help but open his eyes. "Brother Junyan?" June. Chapter 5170. "Little junior sister, just call him Big Brother Xiao," Mu Chen said, glancing at his sister beside him. I also feel that Big Brother Junyan is too intimate," Hao also said. Hearing this, Yu looked at the two of them and blinked. No one knew what she was thinking, but she suddenly smiled and said, "Okay, I'll listen to Big Brother and Second Brother." "Big Brother Xiao. Big Brother Xiao, where are you? I'm Yun Qi." She changed the way she addressed him, and her voice contained spiritual power, reverberating in the air. Earlier, she felt that her 2 brothers were strange, so it turned out that they were jealous. "I'm here." Xiao Junyan followed the voice and saw Yun Qi, who had come all the way to the foot of the mountain. After not seeing her for a few years, the chubby little girl had grown taller and her figure was also slimmer. She already had the appearance of a young girl. She wore a simple pink dress, but it made her look charming and sweet, very likable. "Big Brother Xiao." Seeing him, Cloud 7's eyes lit up. She hurriedly jogged forward and arrived in front of him. She sized him up curiously and said, "Big Brother Xiao, you seem to have grown taller and stronger. You even look better than before." Hearing this, Xiao Junyan's lips curled up, and a smile flashed across his eyes. I haven't seen you for a few years. You've grown up." As he spoke, he looked at the 2 people behind him and asked, "They are?" "Oh, they are my big brother and second brother. I came out of seclusion yesterday, and heard from Master that you came to look for me. Today, I came down to look for you. My 2 senior brothers were worried about me, so they followed me," she said with a smile. After looking at them, she said, "You definitely don't know my 2 senior brothers, right? Come, let me introduce them to you. This is my big brother, Yun Chen. This is my second brother, Yun Yuan. They are very good to me." As she spoke, she looked at the 2 and said, "Big brother, second brother, this is Xiao Junyan, the young master of the Xiao family. His family's ancestor is Great Emperor Xiaotian. Their family is also very powerful." Hao and Mu Chen nodded slightly at him as a form of greeting. Although Xiao Junyan did not like to interact too much with strangers, but seeing that they were Cloud Seven's two senior brothers, she cupped her hands and said, "Although I have not met the two of you before, but I have long heard of your names. Since we have met today, why don't I be the host and invite you to a restaurant in the city for a gathering?" "Good, good. I also want to go to the city to eat a good meal," Yuer said. Hearing this, Hauer said, "Since that's the case, then let me be the host and play the role of host. Young Master Xiao, please." He was already a young man. His actions and words were naturally different from when he was young. Since they were going to invite him, he had to be the one doing the inviting. Xiao Junyan's eyes flashed as she looked at him and said, "All right." After saying that, she followed them into the city. After not coming to the city for a few years, the most excited one upon entering the city was Yuer. She looked left and right and bought a lot of snacks on the street. Along the way, she wandered around before arriving at a restaurant in the city. The few of them booked a private room. After the dishes were served, Yuer drank water and asked, "Big Brother Xiao, why did you come to find me? Is something the matter? Or did you just happen to pass by here?" Chapter 51-71. After I came back, I didn't go out again. Master has always let us cultivate in the mountains. The three of us only came out yesterday, Yuer said, and her eyes flashed. "Oh right, I heard from Master that another great emperor has ascended. He will send out invitations. At that time, Master will bring the three of us to join in the fun and broaden our horizons. Big Brother Xiao, are you going? It's that Yama Lord, the husband of Empress Phoenix Master, ascending to celebrate, right? I haven't received any news from my family, so I'm not sure if I'm going or not," Xiao Junyan said, knowing that such a celebration banquet was not something that anyone could attend. Even if it was their Xiao family, if they wanted to visit another great emperor's immortal island, they had to send an invitation first. Since he didn't go back, he naturally wouldn't have such an invitation. Hao and Mu Chen drank tea and listened to the two of them talking, but they didn't say anything. In their minds, they were thinking, when will Master bring them? The two of them chatted, and when Xiao Junyan saw that there was nothing on her head, he took out a box from his space and gave it to her. "I bought this on the way here. It's a gift for you." "Ah? You even brought me a gift?" Yuer was slightly surprised, and after taking a glance at him, she hesitated for a moment, then took the box that was handed over by him. After opening the box, two beautiful pearl hair clips were quietly lying inside the box. The flowers of those two pearl hair clips were weaved using small pearls, and each of them were suffused with luster, which was very beautiful. "So beautiful! Thank you, Big Brother Xiao." Yuer thanked him with a smile. At this time, when he saw that she had accepted Xiao Junyan's gift, Hao reminded her, "Little junior sister, you are a girl. You can't casually accept gifts from others, especially from men. And it's best not to accept things from others. What do you want? What do you like? Senior brother can buy it for you." Mu Chen also said, implying that he didn't want her to accept other people's gift. "It's just two pearl hair clips. It's not anything valuable. It's okay," Xiao Junyan said, looking at the two of them. Inexplicably, he felt that they seemed to have some kind of hostility towards him. And this feeling was very strange. Yua looked at her two elder brothers, then looked at Xiao Junyan. Finally, she thought for a bit and pushed the box back. "My senior brother doesn't want me to accept it. I don't think I'll accept it." Looking at the pearl hair clips that had been stuffed back into her hands, Xiao Junyan shot a glance at the two of them, the corners of her mouth twitching slightly as she asked, "Speaking of which, I still don't know what the two of you are from. You guys aren't going to chat anymore? If you don't want to talk, we'll go back first," Mu Chen said and looked at his sister. "Let's eat first," Xiao Junyan said as she picked up some food and placed it in her bowl. Yes, senior brother, we should at least finish our meal before we leave, right? Come, senior brother, eat this." Yu beamed as she picked up a piece of meat and placed it in his bowl. She also picked up a piece for Hao. Seeing this, the two of them didn't say anything more. They just accompanied her to finish the meal, paid the bill, and went back. Xiao Junyan accompanied her all the way to the foot of the mountain, then said, "This is my communication jade tablet. You keep it. If there's anything in the future, we'll contact each other again." "Okay." Yu replied and also handed over hers to him. "This is mine." Chapter 51-73. "Leng Hua, bring me to greet Emo Qin," Feng Jiu instructed with a smile. "Yes." Leng Hua responded and came to his side. He said to Emo Qin, "Gongzi Emo Qin, let me show you around. I know a place where you can see the surrounding scenery at a glance." "Okay," Emo Qin responded and nodded to the two of them before leaving with Leng Hua. Xianyuan Mose and Feng Jiu looked at each other and walked out hand in hand. When they arrived at the main hall, they saw Emperor Qing sitting in the hall drinking tea while the three children stood behind him. Seeing the three children, Feng Jiu's eyes softened and were full of love and joy. After not seeing them for a few years, they had all grown up a lot, especially Hao. He could already be said to be a proper youth. After Xianyuan Mose and Feng Jiu entered, their gazes fell on the three children and they were slightly surprised. If she hadn't mentioned to him earlier that the three children weren't using their original appearances, it probably wouldn't have been easy to recognize them. Back then, when they were by his side, they were all so small. Now they were all so big. Leng Hua stood guard outside the main hall while the others retreated, and did not allow anyone to come close. Therefore, there were only a few people in the large main hall. "Father, mother." As soon as the three children saw them, they called out happily and trotted over to them. Yu directly threw herself into Feng Jiu's embrace, while Hao and Mu Chern stopped in front of them and respectfully cupped their hands in greeting. "This child greets father and mother." "Good, you've all grown up." Xianyuan Mose sighed in his heart. Looking at his two sons and his daughter in Feng Jiu's arms, his heart was full of pride and joy. His children had all grown up, but he always seemed to have missed their growth. He was not a good father. "Father, you Mrs. Father and Mother." Yu again came out from Feng Jiu's bosom, and threw herself into his bosom. Hugging him, just like a kitten, she rubbed against his bosom. "Daddy misses you too." Xianyuan Mose's voice was low with a hint of sobbing. "How have you been all these years?" "Father, we are living very well. With mother and master here, we are all very well. Father doesn't need to worry about us. Moreover, we have all grown up, we can protect ourselves." Yu raised her head in his bosom, and said to her father, who was somewhat emotionally fluctuating. Even though they hadn't seen each other for many years, their father was still their father. He was still the father who loved them dearly. Now that their father had ascended, their family could be together in the future. "Alright, sit down and talk." Feng Jiu smiled and looked at Emperor Qing. "Long time no see. These three children have troubled you all these years. They are this emperor's disciples. It is my duty to discipline them," Emperor Qing said faintly, looking away from Xianyuan Mose and drinking tea. "Thank you, Emperor Qing, for accepting them as disciples and keeping them by your side to protect them." Xianyuan Mose held Yu's hand and walked to Emperor Qing to express his gratitude. Chapter 51-74. "Qing Emperor, it's rare for you to come here. This time, you should stay here a little longer," Feng Jiu said with a smile. "Then," he added, "we invited people from the Master Chef clan to cook. Qing Emperor, you can have a taste of their cooking. I don't have much to do in Cloud Sky Mountain. This time, even if you didn't mention it, I would have stayed here a little longer." As Qing Emperor spoke, he put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. He said, "It's rare for your family to reunite. I won't disturb you." Seeing this, Feng Jiu called out, "Leng Shuang, take Qing Emperor to rest." "Yes." Leng Shuang, who was outside, answered and led the way. After he left, Feng Jiu said to the three children, "Come, tell father and mother, what have you learned in the past few years?" The three of them talked about the things that had happened in the past few years in the main hall. It was rare for the family to gather together, and there seemed to be endless things to talk about. Early in the morning 2 days later, guests came from all over the place. Early in the morning, Du Fan led people to the fairy island to welcome the guests into the island. Everyone who came in had an invitation in their hands, and their strength was at the sovereign level. Each of them brought 1 or 2 juniors with them. Du Fan welcomed the guests at the entrance of the fairy island, while Ling Hua made arrangements inside. In addition to settling everyone to their seats, there was also the registration of gift. Although there weren't many people, there were fairies transformed from flowers and fairies transformed from red-crowned cranes. Du Fan and Ling Hua made arrangements for all aspects. The division of labor was clear and orderly, as expected of the Yen Emperor and the Phoenix Master's fairy island. Look, such a fairyland can only be seen here. Yes, I've been to many places, but I've never seen a fairyland-like place like this. It's really worth it to be able to come here today. This fairy island is surrounded by fairy chi. Look, there's a rainbow bridge over there. It's really an eye-opener. Many people have come today. Even the human sovereigns who haven't come out for a long time are here. Of course, who wouldn't want to take a look at an invitation from the Yama Lord Fengjiu? Moreover, I heard that Chef God Song's family was invited to this banquet. Looks like everyone is in for a treat today. Ha ha, let's not talk about the food. Just being able to come to this immortal island is already worth it. By the way, I heard that Xing Di and Qing Di are here as well. I didn't expect these 2 great emperors to come as well. What do you know? I heard that the Holy Emperor, the Phoenix Master, and the Yen Emperor have been friends for a long time, but it is unexpected that the Qing Emperor would come. He usually doesn't like this kind of excitement. Now that he has come, I wonder if the other reclusive great emperors will come. The way I see it, there is an 80 to 90% chance that they will come. Everyone was discussing as they walked in. Suddenly, they heard a movement behind them. All the sovereigns moved aside to make a path. The sovereigns in front looked back and couldn't help but be surprised. They quickly moved aside to make a path. Some even cupped their hands and greeted with a smile. Greetings, Great Emperor Xiaotian. I didn't expect to see the Great Emperor's face again after so many years. Great Emperor Xiaotian looked at that person and said with a smile, "Today is the big day for the Yen Emperor and the Phoenix Master. Our Xiao clan has also received an invitation. Naturally, we have to pay a visit." Chapter 5175. Who's that young man beside Great Emperor Xiaotian? It looks extraordinary. An immortal monarch said as he probed in a low voice. He must be a descendant of Great Emperor Xiaotian. Otherwise, why would he bring him to this banquet? And I heard, what did you hear? The surrounding people couldn't help but ask softly when they saw the immortal monarch stop talking. The immortal lord looked around and whispered, I heard that a few great emperors are interested in marrying the children of the Yama Lord and the Phoenix Master. I don't know if it's true, but I reckon that since Great Emperor Xiaotian is here, the other hidden great emperors will be here as well. Just as they were speaking, they heard a loud commotion behind them. They retreated to the side and saw 2 old men and a middle-aged man walking over together. Hearing the greetings of the immortal monarchs in the surroundings, it seemed that the 3 of them were all great emperors. Other than the middle-aged great emperor, who brought a young man and a young woman with him, the 2 old men didn't bring any juniors with them. They chatted and laughed as they walked in. Look, another 3 are here. How many great emperors are there in the upper immortal realm? How many people had come? The Yama Lord and the Phoenix Master are indeed famous. Even these great emperors who haven't come out for a long time can't sit still anymore. The few of them chatted as they walked in. There were many small long tables in the spacious area. The sovereigns had already taken their seats and were eating fruits and drinking wine while chatting. As for the great emperors, they were led to the front of the hall where they were seated at specific locations. Sitting beside Emperor Xiaotian, Xiao Junyan looked around silently, trying to find Emperor Qing and Cloud 7. However, after looking around, she did not find the person she was looking for. Junyan. Great Emperor Xiaotian took a sip of tea and called out, "Here." He lowered his gaze and replied respectfully, "Do you remember what I said to you?" Great Emperor Xiaotian asked. He didn't look at him and continued to drink his tea. The seat of the great emperor was quite a distance away from the seats of the sovereigns, and the space was large enough. Therefore, no one could hear what they were talking about due to the chaotic chatter around them. Xiao Junyan paused for a moment and said, "Old ancestor, don't worry. I will do my best and not embarrass you. It's just that," hearing his words, Roaring Sky nodded with satisfaction. Unexpectedly, Roaring Sky paused and asked, "But what?" "It's just that, old ancestor, I think it's better to let nature take its course. Sometimes it's not good to force things. Besides, she's the daughter of the Yama Lord and the Phoenix Master. Moreover, I heard that their family went through a lot of hardships and finally reunited. I don't think it's too early to mention." More importantly, he did not want to marry someone he did not know, even if the other party was the daughter of Yen Di and the Phoenix Master. However, he couldn't say that out loud. Great Emperor Xiaotian sipped his tea and glanced at him. "What do you think of your trip to see Emperor Qing's disciple?" Xiao Junyan was stunned. "What do you mean?" Chapter 51-76. Xiao Junyan's eyes flashed and she said, "I've never asked. I only know that she is the little disciple of the Qing Emperor. As for which clan she comes from, I don't know. The Qing Emperor has always liked peace and quiet. In the past 1,000 years, I've only heard that he had taken in one disciple. Later on, his disciple failed to advance and died. It's not that no one wanted to send the younger generation of the clan to the Cloud Sky Mountain to be his disciple, but he didn't take a fancy to any of them. So when they found out that he had taken in these 3 disciples, many people were really curious. Where did these 3 people come from? It's a pity that no one could find out about their clan and background." As the Roaring Sky Emperor spoke, he took a sip of the tea in front of him and said, "However, there are also people who guessed that these 3 people must be from an extraordinary clan. Their talents may also be very heaven-defying. Otherwise, the Qing Emperor wouldn't have thought of taking them in as his disciple. It's just that." He paused and looked at Xiao Junyan and said, "No matter how extraordinary they are, they can't compare to the daughter of the Yama Lord and the Phoenix Master. Do you understand? Old ancestor, Yun Qi is still just a child," Xiao Junyan said lightly. Compared to him who was almost 20 years old, Yun Qi who was less than 10 years old was just a child in his eyes. He didn't deny that he had a good impression of Yun Qi, but this good impression was just pure love and not mixed with any romantic feelings. After all, no matter what, he wouldn't fall in love with a child who was less than 10 years old. For so many years, he had been longing to see her because the two of them had interacted before. Moreover, she was the only person who he wanted to get close to and interact with for so many years. He didn't care about other people's gazes, and only did things according to his heart. But he didn't expect that the people in the clan, and even the old ancestor, would think that he had feelings for Yun Qi. He was a grown young man and Yun Qi was just a child in his eyes. She was just like the chubby and naked child he had pulled out of the water back then. She hadn't changed even after so many years. Liking someone and wanting to get close to someone didn't mean that he had fallen in love with her, right? He just felt comfortable being with her and didn't think much about other things. Hearing his words, the Roaring Sky Emperor didn't say anything more. Who could say for sure? However, all these years, ever since his parents passed away, he didn't care about anything and was indifferent to everyone. Only that little girl called Yun Qi cared about him. He had been thinking about her all these years. However, since he said that he didn't have that kind of intention, it was fine. Old ancestor, Xiao Junyan called out. He tilted his head slightly and looked at him. Xiao Junyan looked at him, her expression serious as she said, "The wife that I marry in the future will only be someone that I admire, and not because of status or anything else." Great Emperor Xiaotian looked at him deeply and didn't say anything. He looked away and saw a figure he hadn't seen for a long time. Xiao Junyan followed his gaze and saw the Qing Emperor walking over slowly with 3 disciples behind him. When he saw Yunqi, who was dressed in blue, his gaze softened and he revealed a smile. Although this girl had gradually grown up, but in his memory, she was still that sly and mischievous chubby baby. He was so much older than her, how could he have any thoughts about her? The old ancestor and the others were really worried for nothing. Chapter 51-77. The Roaring Sky Emperor had already stood up and stepped forward. He smiled and cupped his fists. "Emperor Qing, long time no see. I heard that you have taken in 3 disciples. These must be them." As he spoke, his gaze fell on the 3 people behind him. The Emperor Qing smiled faintly and said, "I didn't expect to see Elder Xiao here. It has been many years." As he spoke, he turned slightly and gestured to the 3 people beside him. "Come forward and greet the Roaring Sky Emperor. Yun Chen, Yun Yuan, Yun Qi." "Greetings, Roaring Sky Emperor." The 3 people stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Good, good, good." The Emperor Qing smiled and looked at the 3 of them. He casually took out 3 fist-sized luminous pearls and handed them to them, saying, "Here are a few pearls. Take them and play with them." Seeing this, the 3 of them looked at their master, unsure if they should accept it. "Since it is a gift from the Roaring Sky Emperor, take it," the Emperor Qing said. "Yes." After they responded, they stepped forward and took the pearls. They bowed to the Roaring Sky Emperor saying, "Thank you, Roaring Sky Emperor. Speaking of which, this Yunqi is also fated to be with our Xiao clan. Back then, he even went to our Xiao clan's fairy island and got to know Junyan there. This time, this child came out and went straight to Cloud Sky Mountain, saying that he wanted to see our little friend from back then." As Roaring Sky Emperor spoke, he looked at Xiao Junyan and said, "What are you waiting for? Come and greet the Emperor Qing." As he spoke, he said to the Emperor Qing, "Emperor Qing should have met him already, right?" Xiao Junyan greets the Emperor Qing. He stepped forward and bowed. The Emperor Qing glanced at him and nodded. He said indifferently, "There are many talents under Elder Xiao. The young master of the Xiao clan has an extraordinary aura and cultivation." "Ha ha, you flatter me. Speaking of which, the 3 disciples of the Emperor Qing have such cultivation at such a young age. It is obvious that they are extraordinary. I wonder, what kind of aristocratic family can raise such outstanding juniors? I just met them when I was traveling. I took them in and taught them. They are not worth mentioning." The Azure Emperor changed the topic and said, "Old Xiao, it has been a long time since we last met. You should take this opportunity to drink a few more cups." "Ha, of course, of course. Come, take a seat." Grand Monarch Howling Sky gestured for Qin Nan to take a seat. As for the people of the younger generation, they were seated behind the 2 of them. Not long after, another 3 great emperors came. The 2 great emperors started chatting with the 3 great emperors. As for the 2 great emperors who came with them, they also sat in the last row. Sitting in the last row, even though they were only around 10 years old, they knew that everyone present had extraordinary backgrounds. Their seniors were either great emperors or their ancestors. Therefore, after everyone sat down, they began to chat and greet each other. "Are you Cloud 7? I heard that your master gave you a very powerful deity beating whip. Is it the one on your waist?" A young girl around 12 or 13 years old looked curiously at the whip on Cloud 7's waist. Yunqi looked at her and saw that she had an oval face. Her hair was combed into a ponytail that covered her forehead. Under her curved eyebrows were a pair of beautiful phoenix eyes, a tall nose, and small red lips. She looked like a natural beauty. Chapter 51-78. Because she was hugged by her two brothers, she was sitting in the middle, so the one who was separated from Xiao Junyan was her brother Muchun, and the one who was separated from this big sister was her big brother. When she stretched out her hand to hand over the whip, her big brother took it and handed it over to that young girl. That young girl saw the youth wearing black clothes handing over the whip, and couldn't help but look at him, and at the same time receiving the whip, she said, "I am called Mei Zhuxin, I came with my family's old ancestor, this is my elder brother, Mei Zhu Bai." The youth at the side looked towards them, and slightly nodded his head, and his gaze also sized up Yu. There was no other reason, because here, other than his younger sister, she was the only little girl, moreover, she was a little girl who was not even 10 years old. "This is my eldest senior brother, Yunchen, this is my second senior brother, Yunyuan, and he is Xiao Junyan, Roaring Heaven Emperor is his old ancestor." Yunqi was half lying on the table, and said to her, "Yunqi, I have never left the island, but I have also heard of you. I heard that your master Qin Di treats you very well, and even gave you this god-striking whip as a weapon for self-defense. I have always heard of this whip, but today I have the opportunity to see it. I didn't expect this whip to be so beautiful, Yunqi, your master is really good to you," she said with envy, and touched the whip with one hand, and after looking at it for a good while, she handed the whip back. "Of course, my master loves me the most," Yunqi said with a beaming smile, and putting the whip back on her waist, she said, "You usually can't leave the island? I thought only we are like this. My master made us go into seclusion to cultivate, and didn't let us come out to play. I haven't left the island, but my elder brother came out. Our family has a rule, only 15 years old can leave the island to gain experience. This time, because Yama Lord and Phoenix Master are holding a banquet here, we have the opportunity to come out with our old ancestor," she said, then looking all around she said, "To be honest, this place is much more beautiful than our island. Isn't that right? I also feel that this place is very beautiful, just like a fairyland. In my master's Cloud Sky Mountain, there are mountains and trees everywhere, just like a deep forest, but here is different, everywhere is beautiful, and there is also a rainbow bridge, do you see it?" Yu said with a beaming smile, and her heart was very happy. Because this was her home. Xiao Junyan saw that she was chatting non-stop the moment she met her little friends. He had originally wanted to have a good chat with her, but he couldn't get a word in edgewise. Moreover, he didn't know why, but he had a feeling that Yunqi's two senior brothers didn't seem to like him being too close to Yunqi. While the people here were chatting, Emochun also came not long after. She sat down not far from Emperor Qing and the others, and behind her were Feng Yi and Zhao Yang. "Little 7. Feng Yi called out and waved at Cloud 7. Seeing him, Cloud 7 blinked. This was their granduncle. Even their mother had to call him little uncle. However, it seemed a little too old to call him granduncle. He didn't look much older than them. "Little 7, don't you recognize me?" When Feng Yi saw the little girl blinking her eyes at him, he couldn't help but smile wickedly. He got up and walked towards the three of them, sitting down beside them. "Look, what did I bring for you?" While speaking, he took out a paper bag from his space. When he opened it, there was a roasted chicken inside. Chapter 5179. This is not an ordinary roast chicken. I went to the kitchen and asked me to make it, Feng Yi said as he tore off a drumstick and handed it to her. "I've seen it. I don't think the dishes will be served so soon. Eat something to fill your stomach first." "That's not very good, right?" Hao was a little hesitant. Master is still sitting in the front. It didn't seem very good for them to eat at the back. "It's fine. Why don't you follow me? I know a place." As he spoke, he quickly wrapped up the roast chicken and waved at them, indicating that they should follow him. Seeing this, the three of them looked at each other. To be honest, since Granduncle asked them to go, they seemed to have no choice but to go. Moreover, it was Sister Mi's roast chicken. They were craving it. "Then we'll be back soon," Yunqi stood up and said to Xiao Junyan and the Mei siblings. The three of them then quietly left. Xiao Junyan looked at their departing figures and was a little surprised. Why did they look so familiar? Feng Yi brought the three of them to a corner and waved his hand to set up a soundproof barrier. He smiled and said, "Do the three of you still recognize me?" "We recognize you. You're Feng Ye's granduncle," Yu said with a smile. "Little Yu, you've already grown so big. When I saw you earlier, your mother told me not to reveal your identity. It seems you're the same as me now." While speaking, he handed the drumstick to Yu and said, "Come, eat first. Chun how tear it yourself. I specially asked me to make this spiritual chicken. It's very fragrant." After saying that, he tore off a wing and ate it. Seeing this, Mu Chun and Hao tore off a drumstick and a wing respectively. The few of them sat there and chatted while eating. Let me tell you, the great emperors who came today didn't have any good intentions. They all came for the marriage of their children. Look at all of you, you're still so young and you're already being targeted, Feng Yi said and tore off another piece of meat to eat. Hearing this, Hao Mu Chun and Yu were startled. They looked at each other and asked, "Granduncle, what children are you talking about? What other in-laws could they be?" "My family is the three of you. Those juniors sitting behind the great emperors are all here to show their faces in front of your parents." Then, he smiled proudly and said, "This is the news I heard when I came here. Not only them, but the other sovereigns also have the same idea. It's just that they don't dare to mention it. However, the great emperors will probably mention it." Looking at the three people's shocked expressions, he smiled and said, "But you don't have to worry. Your parents won't marry you so quickly." Hearing this, the three of them finally relaxed. Hao said, "They're wasting their efforts." He knew that their parents would not casually arrange a marriage for them. Even if they wanted to arrange a marriage, they would have to get their consent first. Mu Chun, on the other hand, did not speak. She did not know what he was thinking as he stared at Yu. "Brother, why are you looking at me like this?" Yu looked at him in surprise and asked, "If great Emperor Xiaotian proposes marriage for Xiao Junyan, will you agree?" Mu Chun asked with a serious face, his eyes fixed on her. Chapter 5180. Feng Yi listened to their conversation and stared at them for a while. Suddenly, he laughed and said to Hao and Mu Chun, "Yu is not even 10 years old yet. How would she know anything about love? You two are worrying too much. At this age, how could she know anything about love? It was too early to tell these little brats this." All right. Hurry up and eat. After eating, go back and sit down in case they can't find you later," Feng Yi said and finished the meat in a few bites. He took out a handkerchief and wiped his hands and mouth clean. After the few of them finished eating and returned to their seats, Xiao Junyan saw Cloud 7 looking at her strangely and couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Yunqi stared at him for a while, then shook her head and said with a smile, "Nothing." As she spoke, she turned to look in front of her. Coincidentally, she saw her father and mother coming out. Her gaze also landed on the two of them. She saw her father wearing a low-key yet luxurious black robe. The collar and sleeves of his robe were embroidered with golden dragon patterns, while her mother was wearing a simple yet dazzling red robe. She could not help but smile until her eyes narrowed. She said, "So beautiful." Hao and Mu Chen's gazes also fell on their parents. Seeing them walking slowly with their arms linked like a perfect couple, a smile appeared on their faces. So beautiful. Their parents were so compatible and so pleasing to the eye. When the two of them walked together, the whole world paled in comparison. They are so compatible. They are a match made in heaven. Mei Zhuxin, who was at the side, also spoke. Her eyes lit up as she looked at the pair of people walking slowly towards them. Xiao Junyan's gaze also fell on the two people walking slowly in front of them. He had also heard many legends about them. Every one of them was a major event that shook the world. He looked at the two of them. Other than seeing their rare looks, He also saw the powerful aura emanating from them. The Phoenix Master, who was dressed in red, was holding the Yama Lord's arm. There was a faint smile on her beautiful face. Her aura was restrained, as if it had reached the realm of nothingness. No one could sense her strength or cultivation level. They only knew that this aura was very powerful. The Yama Lord, who was beside her, was dressed in a black robe embroidered with golden dragons. He was low-key yet domineering. He did not restrain his aura. Instead, he exuded it naturally. As he swept his gaze across the crowd, the pressure of an expert swept across the crowd. It was sharp and intimidating. He was like a king inspecting his territory and looking down at his people. His gaze made people lower their heads involuntarily, not daring to look him in the eye. This was the first time he had seen this pair of legendary experts. He only knew that they were so powerful that they made people feel small in front of them. At this moment, everyone stood up. When the Yama Lord and the Phoenix Master stopped in their tracks, they respectfully saluted them. Greetings to Yendi, Phoenix Master. The voices sounded in unison. When everyone finished saluting, they looked up and heard the voices in front of them. Everyone, there's no need to be so polite. Please take a seat. Xianyuan Mose gestured with his hand. With one hand, he led Fengjiu to the main seat and sat down. When the others saw them sit down, they also sat down. Chapter 5181. Seeing this, everyone hurriedly raised their wine glasses and returned the toast. Let us toast to Yendi. Congratulations on your ascension. After everyone saw him raise his head and gulp down the wine in one gulp, they also downed the wine in their hand. The immortal maidservants shuttled back and forth to serve the dishes. Plates of exquisite dishes were placed on the small long table in front of everyone. They listened to the conversation between Yendi and Fengjiu, who were sitting in front of them, and drank a little wine. The originally somewhat restrained atmosphere gradually became lively. Everyone, there is no need to be too restrained. Today, everyone is free to eat, drink, and chat. As Fengjiu said, he clapped his hands and a fairy maiden came over on a cloud. She spun around and landed on the open space in front of them and danced. Waves of pleasant music also sounded. At this moment, everyone looked at each other, raised their wine glasses and chatted with the people around them. In front, Xiaotian Great Emperor was chatting with Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu. He took the opportunity and smiled. Yendi, Phoenix Master, this time I brought a junior over. He is the young master of my Xiao family. I haven't had the chance to let him greet the two of you. As he spoke, he glanced behind him and called out, Junyan, quickly come forward and greet Yendi and Phoenix Master. Xiao Junyan, who was called out by his own old ancestor, was originally talking to Yunqi. When he heard the old ancestor calling him, he immediately stood up and walked to his old ancestor's side. He bowed respectfully to the two people in the main seat. Xiao Junyan greets Yendi and Phoenix Master. Fengjiu knew about Xiao Junyan. Back then, his Yuer girl accidentally went to the Xiao family's immortal island and got to know him there. According to Yuer, Xiao Junyan took good care of her. So, Fengjiu smiled and said, Raise your head and let me see. Hearing this, Xiaotian Great Emperor's eyes lit up. Seeing that his junior was still in a daze, he hurriedly shouted, Junyan, what are you waiting for? Xiao Junyan paused for a moment before she raised her head. Fengjiu carefully looked at the young man in front of her. He should be around 18 or 19 years old. His appearance was very outstanding, but he looked like a cold person. If her daughter didn't say that he took good care of her and treated her very well, it would be hard for her to imagine that this young man who exuded a cold aura could be a person who loved children. Xianyuan Mose had also heard from Fengjiu about how Yuer had snuck out that year. Hence, he had also heard from her that this Xiao Junyan had taken rather good care of her. At this moment, he understood why Fengjiu had asked him to raise his head. It was only because he wanted to see what kind of person this person that his own daughter called Big Brother Junyan was. His child was indeed outstanding, but this young man also had an extraordinary bearing. The young patriarch of the Xiao family is indeed extraordinary. Fengjiu praised with a smile and asked a few more questions. Xiao Junyan also answered them one by one. When Xiaotian Great Emperor saw this, he laughed so hard that his eyes couldn't be seen. Qing Emperor at the side glanced at Xiao Junyan and then at Xiaotian Great Emperor, who was laughing so hard that his teeth couldn't be seen. He then narrowed his eyes and raised his wine cup to drink. Not far away, the middle-aged Great Emperor saw this and was secretly anxious. When he saw that Fengjiu had asked Xiao Junyan to return to her seat, he immediately smiled and said, "Emperor Yan, Phoenix Master, I Lao Mei have also brought a pair of juniors to pay respects to the two of you." As he spoke, he hurriedly motioned for the two juniors behind him to come forward. When the two juniors saw this, they nervously stepped forward and bowed respectfully to the two people at the main seat. Mei Zhu Bai. Mei Zhu Xin. Chapter 5182. Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu looked at each other and smiled. No need to be so courteous. Fengjiu smiled when she saw how nervous the two juniors were. Elder Mei, you're so lucky to have such outstanding juniors. Their futures will be limitless. The middle-aged Great Emperor smiled happily when he heard Fengjiu praise the two juniors. He didn't care if she was being sincere or just being polite. He said, "You're too kind. I heard that Yan Di and Phoenix Master's son and daughter are the truly outstanding ones. If the two of them get to know each other in the future, I would be more than happy to do so." Fengjiu smiled and said, "They're still in the lower immortal realm. But I think there will be a chance in the future." As she spoke, she smiled and said, "This time, I've also prepared a greeting gift for the juniors." "Ling Shuang," she called out. "Yes." Ling Shuang stepped forward with a tray in his hand and distributed the gifts to the children. It was an exquisite little box. They didn't open it after receiving it. They just put away the gifts and stood up to thank Fengjiu. As for the great emperors who didn't bring their juniors, Fengjiu asked Ling Shuang to give them 2 boxes each. Although no one opened the boxes to see what she gave them, everyone was very happy to receive the gift. The juniors were overjoyed to receive the gifts, while the great emperors felt that although Fengjiu was powerful, she was courteous to her guests and treated them equally. She wasn't a difficult person to get along with, so they were slightly relieved. The great emperors weren't the only ones who received gifts. Even the sovereigns who came received gifts from Du Fan and Ling Hua in return. The banquet lasted for a day. When the sky gradually darkened, the sovereigns left one after another. However, the great emperors and their juniors, Xianyuan Mose and Fengjiu, asked them to stay for a few more days. When the sky was completely dark, Du Fan, who had sent the sovereigns away, let out a sigh of relief and went back. Inside, Ling Hua and the others were already dealing with the aftermath of the banquet. In the kitchen, the Song father and son finally had time to sit down and rest after being busy. Let your father and brothers rest for a while. Just leave the rest to us," Ling Hua said, and let her take her father and brothers to rest. After all, although this banquet was said to last for a day, they had prepared for a long time. "Okay, I'll go take a look in the kitchen," replied and went to the kitchen to see her father and brothers. Some of the sovereigns who left found a place to open the gifts given by the Phoenix Master. When they saw that it was a pill that couldn't be bought with money, they couldn't help but gasp. "Hiss! It's actually a pill of this level." "What? Is it a pill? Let me see mine." When a sovereign heard this, he hurriedly took out his gift and opened it. When he saw it, his eyes widened. "It's really a pill. It's a supreme grade pill that can help one advance." Chapter 5183. Don't tell me the Phoenix Master refined this herself? I heard that she was known as the Ghost Doctor in the lower immortal realm. One of the sovereigns whispered, his eyes shining brightly. If the Phoenix Master refined this herself, it would be absolutely pure and without any impurities. This kind of pill is priceless. Wow! How generous! How many sovereigns have come? She's giving out a pill every time? Really? One of the sovereigns was speechless, feeling his heart boiling. If they had used this pill themselves, it would have helped them break through 1 or 2 levels. But if someone in their family took it, they would probably be able to give birth to a sovereign. Thinking of this, their hearts were burning with excitement. A sovereign! If a family had another sovereign, its power and strength would be unimaginable. At this moment, the sovereigns who held the gifts were excited. They carefully kept the pills in the space, and quickly rushed back to their families. At the same time, on the Immortal Island, in the guest house, the middle-aged great Emperor Lao Mei and 2 other elders were gathered together to talk. Did you see the gifts? There are supreme-grade pills inside. Lao Mei said excitedly. There are 2 small bottles in one box. One bottle contains a top-grade elixir that can help you advance to the next level, and the other contains a life-saving elixir that can treat internal injuries. This gift is not light at all. Hearing this, the 2 elders looked at each other and also took out the gifts from Fengjiu. They thought that since it was a gift for the younger generation of their family, it would be the same for them to go back and look at it. But after hearing Lao Mei's words, they were curious. When the box was opened, it was as he said. There were 2 pills inside. Astonishment appeared on the 2 old men's faces as they said, "These 2 pills are not ordinary pills. Even the pills in my family's collection do not have such pill veins and medicinal fragrance as these 2 pills. This kind of pill is hard to find outside. These pills are probably refined by Fengjiu. Other than her strength, her alchemy skills are unparalleled. I heard that her pills are priceless," the other old man said as he looked at the 2 pills in front of him. He carefully put them away and said, "I didn't expect that the first thing he did would be such precious items. I heard that all the sovereigns who came to the banquet were given a gift in return. It was also an elixir, but it was an elixir that could help one level up." Lao Mei said excitedly, "It would be great if we could become in-laws with them. It's a pity that I didn't get to see their child this time. Speaking of which, it's strange. If they could really travel between the upper and lower immortal realms, why didn't they bring their children here? With their current strength and reputation, the experts from all sides wouldn't be foolish enough to make an enemy out of them. What do they have to be afraid of?" the old man said doubtfully. "Who knows what they're thinking? However, there will eventually be a chance to see it. The child of Yen Di and the Phoenix Master is destined to not be an ordinary person from birth." "Indeed." They nodded and said, "It's rare for us to come here, and we were even invited to stay here for a few more days. This time, we must take a good look around."